Okay, ma'am, all good to go. We are put it on the record also. Okay. Ma'am, am I audible? Roli, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, and let us start the session, please.
Okay, yes, sure, ma'am. So, a very warm good afternoon to all of you. I, Shanu Jain, Assistant Professor, DME Management School, along with my co-host, Ms. Parul Grover, Ms. Roli Vadva, and Ms. Pooja Tripathi, welcome you all to this workshop on creating and using Google Forms for conducting research work, organized by Center for Management Research at DME Management School. To enlighten all of us with his esteemed knowledge and expertise, we have amongst us Mr. Parth Shukla as the keynote speaker and trainer for this session. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Parth Shukla is an international trainer and workshop leader providing consulting and training services in information security, data analysis, and application development trainings to different stakeholders. Sir is a Microsoft certified trainer with extensive knowledge of industry relevant skills like R, Python, Advanced Excel, Big Data, Hadoop, and many more. Sir is actively engaged in managing application development and marketing for Knowledge Pro, conducted 300 plus workshops, 180 plus FDPs, and delivering diverse trainings to corporate giants like Indian Oil, Phenolix, Infosys, Maruti Suzuki, to name a few. We once again welcome you, sir, and look forward to an enriching learning session with you. Before we begin, I would also like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Isha Jaswal, Associate Professor, DME Management School and Head Research Cell, and Dr. Purva Ranjan Ma'am, Head DME Management School, for gracing the event with their valuable presence. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Before we begin the session, I would like to brief you all about CMR and the research cell at DME. So CMR is one of the 9 research centers under the aegis of research cell at DME, established with an aim to promote collaborative research on contemporary management practices and paradigms. In the words of Thomas Berger, I quote, "The art and science of asking questions is the source of all knowledge," I unquote. Here lies the essence of inquisitiveness and curiosity as a valuable agent in education and learning. With diligent efforts of Dr. Purva Ranjan Ma'am, Head DME Management School, this workshop is being organized with an idea to teach, demonstrate, and train the students in Google Form usage. I request all the participants to learn the maximum from this session and make it a fruitful one to pursue your academic and research interest. So over to you, Parth sir, or Purva ma'am, if you would like to address the audience, and then sir will start with this session.
And nothing extra to add to what you have already said. And we have close to 80 participants in the meeting. And the simple message is that henceforth, we will be giving you more of primary survey projects to do, and no more working on the usual pattern that you've been doing of secondary data analysis. So we will incorporate the usage of Google Docs and surveys in your assignments, your upcoming internship work, and your projects. So please maximize the usage of the particular session. And we have the wonderful trainer with us, wonderful person who can teach you the, the tricky aspects of Google Forms in a very simple way. And that is the best thing about Mr. Parth is that he will deal with this session, and by the end of it, you will feel that you are very comfortable using this particular tool in your surveys and your research. And over to you, Parth sir. I'm also eager to learn a lot from this session. Lot more things always to learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, very much audible.
Okay. So I seriously appreciate this initiative of your DME college for such kind of sessions, because Yeah, my WhatsApp emails have been bombarded with a lot of questionnaires for research, lot of data collecting activity. So I'll try to correlate with realistic example. Good morning, sir. So with all the things that a management student, a research scholar, a person who is eager to know more about the data, what is the process, and how Google Suite applications will definitely help you with that. So I'll just start sharing my screen. And in the meantime,
One
if you
more
feel like,
request I have, Parth sir,
yes,
that
ma'am.
also since a lot of faculty members are also part of the session,
Yes.
how can we use Google Docs, Google Sheets, and these surveys for our academic data collection as well?
Sure,
So
sure.
because your audience has faculty members as well.
Okay,
So
okay.
we have to use these data collection for various aspects from faculty members at times.
Fair enough. So I'll try to touch upon things related to Google Forms, Google Sheets, Google Doc, and of course, the day-to-day use of it, how we can incorporate it, the psychological aspect of the Google Forms and Google Docs. Of course, we'll cover that part also. So all the do's and don'ts, we'll touch upon all these points. So I'll just start sharing my screen, and in case anyone want to ask anything, feel free to post your question in your chat section, as well as you can post it. You can raise your hand also. We have a Q&A round in the last
Yes, sir.
open house session, so you are free to note down your queries, and we can have one-to-one sessions, interactive questions for that also. So for today's session, before starting anything into the detail of Google Forms, from where we are coming, I'm sure everyone is aware about the primary use of Google Form is to collect data, to know more about it. But with different changing time, with current scenarios, we are using Google Form for a lot of activities. That includes conducting assessment, that includes conducting quiz. And of course, that includes a lot of things apart from just posting questions and waiting for queries. Now, for this session, I'm using a G Suite account. For those students who are new to G Suite account, I'm sure everyone has been using G Suite account. So it's a bit different account compared to a normal Gmail ID, a personal Gmail ID. There are a lot of features. Just to make you sure about it, there are a lot of paid features which are given to you. So DME is part of G Suite account. So everyone can have this G Suite account for their own purpose, own use. I'm sure you will be using it for your own classes also. So if I talk about Google Docs, if I talk about Google Sheets, Google Slides, they are similar to Microsoft services of Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. But when it comes to Google Form, Google is very famous for this particular service apart from Gmail. And I personally appreciate, because I personally use Google Form for a lot of surveys, in spite of having my own Microsoft 365 accounts. So why I have been using it, what are the things, and how to start from the scratch. I'll start upon this thing. Okay. So this session, first of all, let me give you an idea. I won't be using any slide. I won't be creating up some kind of story. What I would be using, just hands-on and some kind of scenarios, and of course, some kind of question. So if you feel like answering it, be ready with your answers on the chat. Okay. Now, if I talk about Google Forms, as the name suggests, we have a lot of features inside Form. The moment we start this form option from these 9 dots inside Google Suite. Now, there is a very interesting story about Google Suite. Wherever you see any dotted pattern, maybe 2 dots, 3 dots, or 9 dots, definitely Google has a lot of functionality hidden inside it. Okay, so the moment I click on these 9 dots here, we do have this open functionality of all the things related to Google Forms. And of course, we can go directly to Google Form from here. Now, the moment I open this Google Form, with every application, we have first a screen that welcomes us with all the templates. So here I can see all the templates. And of course, the idea of having templates is to save up your time. So let's take an example. If I'm working with something like that includes kind of an assessment, so I can directly jump to this template. Okay, and I can open up this template. Now template saves us our time. And of course, we can create our own template also. Now, one thing which we have been using it for all the faculties, it's in fact for students also, Let's take an example. There is some particular kind of template that you have been using it very often, and again you have been using it. So what we can do, we can directly go to this form option and we can save any form as template. Of course, an admin can also create some templates, administrator of G Suite account, and every faculty, every student can use their template. Let's take an example. In industry, we have, whenever someone wants to take a leave, there is a form for taking leave. Whenever someone wants to some kind of administration work, there's a form for that. So these kinds of forms can be created in advance, let's say for leave, for some kind of credits, for some kind of summer internship program. So you do not to depend on some random dynamic creation of form. Any stakeholder can create a form and save it, and whenever it is required, you can share it with other people. So this is just like the form you print, the form you print and you fill it with hard copy. You can have similar kind of forms in your day-to-day life. Now, apart from this, whenever we are working with forms, I'll just take up this example. There are a lot of templates as a way I'm using this. And apart from this, we can go to this option where we can open up a lot of template galleries. Now, here you can see, since I'm using this G Suite account of your college, DME, so there are templates that can be listed by DME. Okay, so what exactly I'm trying to say, I can upload my templates and anyone with G Suite account of DME can use that template. They don't need to create it again. So let's take an example, a scenario where this is important. And you want to give a pattern of form that every student should be using throughout their summer internship or winter internship or any live training. Now that pattern can be prefixed and uploaded here so that every person with a DME account can utilize it. So this is an advantage when we use a G Suite account. This advantage is not there when you're using a free Gmail account. Now, coming back to the general part, these are templates which are widely available to anyone with a Gmail account. So there are templates for invitation, there are templates for event registration and contact information, any kind of templates. Okay, some kind of a feedback. So what I'm doing, I'm taking up this template for consideration, which is based on assessment. Okay. Now, the moment these templates open up, we have to understand Google Form initiatives from this perspective, that as a user and of course, as a creator, what are the things that are there inside Google Form. Now, first of all, whenever we talk about Google Form, okay, we have a student who is waiting. Should I add them?
No, sir, you please continue. We'll manage it. We'll
okay,
take it care of from our end.
So fair enough. So whenever we talk about Google Form, the first thing that comes to our mind, where exactly I'm saving this Google Form. Let's take an example. I'm creating something. This is a template. I'm working on it, and something happens and my internet is not working. System goes out of, you can say, battery. Anything is possible since we all are working from home. So we don't have any admin team. So what exactly I need to figure it out. First thing, we always start with something related to naming my form. Okay, it's a very good habit. So let's say I'm talking about DME assessment. Okay, or I can simply mark it as DME SIP, summer internship. Okay, now there is this option folder. I can directly move it inside a folder also. So let's take an example. If I want to create a folder, and here I am making about SIP 2020. This is my folder. So what exactly is a folder? It's a location where you want to save your form and of course all the responses. It's a very good idea. The moment you create a form, you decide where your response will be and where your form will be, so that next time whenever you are searching for that form inside your drive, you can search it over there. Because it's a very common habit of everyone to have this form, and whenever they want to open up this form, they search for the link where they have shared the form. So there are two approaches to it. First approach is you can directly go with the link, but I personally prefer, this is the more efficient approach. And if I open up this thing, so what I'm opening right now, I'm opening Google Drive, And this drive will not only give me the access to responses, but also the access to my form. So this is my folder which I have created recently. And if I open up this thing, so I'm using a social media account. So you might see some data related to social media stuff of DME. So please don't be surprised by that. Now this is my form. Okay. So a form can be saved inside your drive. And of course you can have forms depending upon month. So let's say in the month of July, I have created 10 forms. I can save it and I can save it inside a folder and I can rename it as July 2020. So I can access my form from my drive location. And you know, the best thing about when you're accessing your forms from drive location, you can do a lot of changes. You can directly share these forms. You can add shortcuts. You can view details. You can preview them. There are a lot of things. Now, when I'm talking about all these functionalities, why I'm talking about all these functionalities, so that you can also understand that drive is not just a storage location. It is backbone of your Google suite. So whatever you want to collaborate, wherever you want to share, okay, or wherever you want to store. So the ideal approach is do it through drive. So drive is just like, I want to share something. So I'm sharing not only the front portion, the graphical portion of my application, but also the backend details, the database of it. So I can make this as I can share it, I can have link, and I can collaborate people over this form. Now, this is about the drive aspect of Google Form. Okay. So now, suppose there are few forms that you have been using it very often. And there are few forms, but I don't use it very often, but they are very important. Once in a month, or sometimes like, I'll just give you a scenario. So whenever we conduct any workshop, whenever I'm part of any Microsoft certification program, so there are few forms that we generally float for checking our feedbacks, for checking whether the student are prepared for the certification. And if they're prepared for the certification, what are their credentials, like username, password, or are they going through the terms and condition of certification, how to appear, what to do, what not to do. So what we do have forms, and there comes forms which are marked with a star. Okay. Now the only idea of marking a form with a star is to highlight that form. Okay. We do very often these kinds of things with mails also. So when we mark our mails with a star, so that we can mark them as important. So whenever you are searching in front of, let's say 50 to 60 forms, you can always search forms marked with star. Okay. Now this is about the header part of it. Of course, the more going with the survey option, you can always go with customizing theme. Okay. So as ma'am was mentioning about the way you ask questions and the way you get answers. So I personally feel Google Form is not just a tool to post your queries or to know something about it. It is a whole combination of creating an environment of an asking question, and of course with an intent of getting relatable answers. So let's take an example. If I'm doing some kind of survey on SPSS as a faculty, or if I'm going through research, I'm collecting huge data. I'm working on data of 1,000 people. And the problematic part is my form consists of 50 odd questions. Okay. Some questions are related to each other. Some questions are randomly on some other scenarios, like what is happening post-COVID, what will happen, scenario of jobs, or maybe scenarios of internship, anything related to it. So I need to understand it is not just a medium of posting questions. There is a whole psychological aspect to my Google form. And what is that Google psychological aspect to that Google form? I'll cover it. Okay. Starting from the first parameter, that is selecting the appropriate theme, which is the most undervalued portion because people hardly give a time to select the appropriate theme. And I personally feel a lot of things, a success of your Google form directly depends on this aspect, that how good your form is into look and feel. It might be, you might feel like this doesn't happen in reality, that whether my form is looking great or not, but trust me, when I shared 100 form to my students, or when I share 100 form to random people, asking them about some data which is directly related to my some kind of research, some kind of analysis, and especially to random people. Okay, so what happens? I have done it couple of times. I've done it many more times. The more you present your form in a well presented and defined manner with right set of values, there is a good possibility people will submit it. And if you're doing it with the help of random template without putting any extra effort to look and feel, trust me, you won't get more than 60% of the total, you can say, data. 60% when your form is very good with appropriate questions, and it can go up, it can go as low as 40%, okay, which we really do not want. So if you are sending your form to 100 people, you will only get 40 responses, maximum 40 responses, not properly documented, if it is not properly well aligned with the psychological aspect of it. So form is not just a question and answer, it is more and beyond that. Now, let's take an example. We do have a color theory, and I won't get into the detail of color theory. Of course, that has nothing to do with the today's session, but you can always understand the more use of bright colors gives you an impression of something which is really important, something that requires a lot of attention. But if you're taking up some light colors, if you're taking up some dark color, you can ask them some random questions, some light questions, something which is not so subjective in nature. Let's take an example. If I'm putting up something related to this kind of color into the form, or some kind of theme related to it. So I generally want, let me give you an idea about it. I generally want something which includes less of subjective topics, more of casual topics, like how you like about the session, whether you want to, whether are you planning for some masters, or would you like to go ahead with the sessions in the coming times, stuff like that. Okay. Now, if I go to this option, customize themes, so I can work on my customized themes. I can have an image also. Okay. Let's take an example. If I want to go with some image, so I can randomly upload it. There are some templates, of course, but now is a time when people believe in customization. So if I am talking about some books, I can do it from here, or I can upload it, or I can select from my photos album also. Okay. So let's say if I'm working on some science project or working on something like this, so I can directly insert this as a header. Okay. So if you're doing some kind of research for a company, let's say you are doing some kind of research for a company like Sansui, Hyundai, or some HR based company, let's say Randstad, or any other company. So you can have a logo over there so that people can understand this is not just a casual form. This is related to some kind of study, and people are asking for some kind of favor. So they will prefer it. So example, if I upload this image from my desktop so that I can explain you how does it makes a difference. So now what I'm uploading is, I'm uploading some image. Let me just take up some image from here. Okay. Okay, so I'm working on some study about the cruelty on street animals, or maybe the study how something related to street dogs. Okay, so what I want in this, I want an image that plays a very important role. Okay, okay, so my image has a pattern. This is just a banner. So if I want a form that should emphasis on the emotional aspect of a user, okay, while collecting it. So the point which I'm explaining here is these images, these themes plays a very important role. Do not take it lightly. It has nothing to do with just like it was there in my template, so I'm using it as it is. Okay, so this is how, and this image can be a deciding factor which a user sees. So we generally believe whenever you share a form, whenever you share a survey, okay, so wherever I'm talking about survey, I'm talking about form indirectly. In fact, survey is a bigger aspect. So whenever I'm talking about survey for gathering data, we need to understand it has an important graphic intensity. It has a graphic importance, which we need to understand, and which we will be going ahead whenever we are creating it. Okay, so this triggers the emotional aspect, and there is a good success ratio when you are triggering something which is relatable to the user. Okay, so do not use such kind of things when you're presenting something or you're asking for feedback. This is totally subjective depending on person to person. Now, after this, in header, we have, of course, the preview part. So whenever you're doing any kind of changes, you can always go with the preview part. Okay, companies have been using it very often, not only for collecting surveys, but for a lot of things. To be very specific, if you are ordering, I'm sure everyone would be ordering something related, something from Amazon, or maybe you're ordering from Flipkart. So you might have noticed they have something written on the box. And why they write on the box? To trigger the emotional aspect, to trigger the psychological aspect of the user who is buying something from them. So that's the same case when you're doing survey, you have to take care of these things. Okay, so this is about the preview part. I'm sure this is fairly relatable, and it's not something that includes a lot of study, but I'm just explaining you the importance of it. Okay, now apart from this I consider the whole backbone of Google Form, from where you can add dynamicity, from where you can work with these functionalities. So let's take an example. What if I want only a user should submit one response, and after that form will not collect any other response? What if I want something, let's say my user should log into their Gmail first, so that I can not only collect the response, but I can verify who is submitting this response. So I want to validate user not only from the point of view of their names and mobile number, but also from the point of view that this response is coming from a genuine Gmail ID. Okay, so there we have options inside settings. Okay, so whenever I personally feel I'm learning something new, of course, there are tools in Google Suite like Jamboard. There are tools in Google Suite that includes a lot of functionalities. So I personally spend more times on understanding the setting part of it. If you can understand settings, you can easily correlate these settings with the real life scenarios. Example, I want to collect email addresses also. So instead of me writing a question, enter your email address. You can put yourself on mute. Okay, so it will be easy for me to take up this session. Else, if you want to ask anything, you can ask me. Okay, I'll just keep track of the chat section also. Yes, so chat is there. Okay, great. So for those students who are into their second year, who are into their final year, okay, feel free to post your question. Okay, great. So if I want to collect email IDs, okay, now in that scenario, I don't need to write a question asking enter your email ID. Until and unless I want to ask secondary email ID, I can just enable this option. That option will automatically ask every user to log in first, and whenever a user logs in, of course, that form will keep track of their email ID also. Okay, then we have an option of response receipts. Let's take an example. People have been using it for various features. Let's say if response request, or if someone submits my response, so if there is some kind of acknowledgement like thank you for providing your feedback, or maybe this is the first part, later on you can visit this website for further information, or this survey was part of this initiative. To know more about my initiative, please visit this website. So if you want to leave any trail to the further information, okay, that can be any survey of a company, that can be any survey which you personally want to understand. Okay, so let's take an example. I want to understand how students who are preparing for JEE and medical are handling this current pressure, whether they don't know whether there will be JEE or how their medical exams will be conducted. So there is a survey for those class 12 students, and I want to give them an idea after submitting the response. You can visit this website for taking up all the necessary steps to handle your stress. Okay, so I can use this response as a trail to my second, you can say, option. It can be a website, it can be sharing your personal details. In some cases, people use these responses for sharing, let's say, GoToMeeting IDs, Zoom meeting IDs, and of course, sharing for email IDs also. So these are some options which are there inside settings. Apart from that, if you are using a G Suite account, again, I'm highlighting this word G Suite account again and again, because if you're trying all these functionalities from your personal account, some of the features which I'm discussing right here might not be present in that. Again, because G Suite is a paid version, and whenever you pay, Google provides you some extra functionalities. Okay, so if I want a survey within my organization, all the people who are having a valid @dme.ac.in account can only provide that survey. Even if someone shares that link to someone else, that link will not open because that person does not has a valid G Suite email ID from the college. So if I want to do that, I can enable it. If I'm disabling it, anyone with a link can provide a survey from their email IDs. Okay, so this is like required sign in. And of course, this is what I was referring to, limit one response. Okay, anyone who can let me know on chat, is there any scenario where you need multiple response from people? Anyone, any student? Let me know how many of you are actually listening to me and answering this question. Is there any scenario in our real life where we need multiple responses from same people? I'm sure this scenario is not very tricky. Is there any scenario? Of course, there are a lot of scenarios when you need only one response, but is there any scenario where we need only, or where we need multiple response? Yeah, so CAA and RC, okay. Yeah, so where are different sessions, okay. Maybe, okay, so let me tell you how we can go with it. Let's take an example. You are part of a survey for the next 5 days, okay. 5 days you are part of a survey. Every morning we are conducting some session on morning 7:30 about spirituality, about enlightenment, about the importance of life, kind of that. And every day I want you to submit a survey. So what generally people do, they share you a survey link every day. Every day they will share you a survey link, and they will ask you that this only accept one response, please provide the feedback. So what will happen at the end of day, you will get, let's say, suppose some 100 surveys, and on next day again you have to share that link. So instead of sharing the same link again and again with the same audience, create a survey that accepts multiple responses. And of course, whenever you are submitting multiple response, your response has a tag of response time. Anyone can gather, anyone can understand this response was submitted on 25th and the next response was submitted on 26th. Okay, so there are some use cases where you might fill some form accidentally because of some kind of confusion, and you want to provide something which is better version of your previous response. So in such scenarios, we don't limit it, but most of the scenarios when you're talking about surveys, it is always preferred to limit the response, because if I get into the details of data gathering, the importance of data directly depends on how much qualitative that data is. So instead of having some random response with some fake values, with some fictitious characters, okay. I remember when we were in our school, so we used to fill up our test papers with some fictitious characters like, say, Pokemon, Doraemon, and that leads to such kind of nuisance in data, which everyone avoids. So if I want to avoid such kind of nuisance in my survey, I will restrict it to one limit, and of course I will restrict it to collect email addresses also, okay. Because if this data is coming which is not required, which has nothing to do with my survey, so that data will spoil all the data gathering activity. So we can limit that, okay. Now apart from it, we do have options related to, so yeah, so edit after summary. If I want this thing, this is generally given to people from where you are taking up a bigger survey, okay. let's say a survey which you have been doing it from faculty, from teaching members, okay, and you are asking for some kind of suggestions which are subjective in nature. So there can be possibility where you want to this edit to be done to your survey value. So you can always go with that. And then you can have summary charts and text responses. Now, suppose I want to fill this information, I want to show it to my people, like if you are supporting something related to, let's say if you're supporting more of globalization, or you are supporting privatization of railways, okay, I'm just taking up some random example, and you want to know how many people are against that topic and how many people are in support of the topic, you want to right away tell to the user with a form of some kind of graph, okay. I'm sure whenever you do that on Twitter and someone asks you questions on Twitter in form of yes, no, or do not know, so the moment you answer that yes, no, it shows you how many people, how many percentage of people are saying yes, how many percentage of people are saying no. So again, if you want this functionality to be given to your user, your respondents can see that, go ahead with this functionality. It's a very good initiative where you want to educate your user that you fall into this category, whether you are supporting, and these are the number of percentage of people who are into this similar kind of mindset. So I personally prefer at any point of time, it's always good to educate your user what kind of survey they are going, and how other people are thinking. Are you thinking within same or alike, or you're thinking totally different? So these are some general categories inside settings. Okay. Then you can directly go to presentation part. Now, presentation, I personally prefer, especially with this situation when you cannot see people face to face. What you can do is you can either call them, you can either text them, or you can either share them this kind of survey. It is always required to go with these kinds of functionality. Let's take an example. My survey consists of some 25 questions, and that 25 questions directly depends on something, let's say my buying pattern, okay, what kind of shoes I prefer, what kind of watches I prefer, and it can be something very personal, like are you feeling comfortable visiting a salon at this time when COVID is increasing? So, and all these situations can be categorized into sections, which I will cover later. And of course, each and every section can show a progress bar. Now, this progress bar is very important for especially research survey, because I have been part of lot of research surveys, and where faculty, students, research scholars, students who are pursuing their masters, students who are doing their doctorate. So whatever they share as a survey, most of the time as a person, sometimes I become very anxious, like why this number of questions is increasing. Even after answering 15 questions, there is no clue how many questions might come. And that is the area, that is the scenario when 20% of the people who are actually helping you with the survey will leave that survey in between. So to avoid that scenario, it's always preferable to go with a progress bar. Progress bar, you might have seen whenever you download anything from online, there is a progress bar that shows. Whenever you copy anything into OneDrive, there's a progress bar that shows. So the idea of progress bar is to handle your, you can say you not being so anxious, like how many questions would be there. You can easily understand, okay, this is a progress bar, 50% I have already completed. Okay. So this is about the progress bar, which is there in the presentation of my form. And of course, if I want some kind of shuffling of questions, okay, and this brings a surprise element. And if I'm asking 5 questions to a particular user, and there's a scenario that same questions is coming to the particular user, trust me, I don't know how many of you will go with this thought process, but if you're talking about the psychological aspect of your survey, it directly deals with the order of questions and of course with the number of questions. Let's take an example. If someone asks me, tell me something about your buying pattern in terms of branded shoes. You prefer branded shoes, or you prefer some shoes which are not so branded, maybe in the allied category, maybe something which is made in India, some general category. Okay. So in this question, I need to understand through surveys, we educate our users so that the order also makes it a lot of difference. In some surveys, we want to jumble, we want to shuffle all the questions. In some surveys, we don't want that kind of functionality. We want slowly and steadily uncovering of the facts so that the person is comfortable in sharing what and how they feel about it. Example, there was a study when group of people were asking from working professionals, okay, and those questions were very you can say kind of sentimental questions like, do you feel safe when you travel after 8 o'clock? This is a survey based on eve teasing. Okay, so are you comfortable carrying a pepper spray in your bag? Okay, and this the same question was there for guys also. Do you ever felt being harassed at a workplace? So you need to understand, when you ask such kind of question, it's a moral responsibility of a survey creator to take those questions steadily one after another instead of just posting it right away, or maybe shuffling those questions so that a user is surprised at the first hand. Okay, have you ever faced any kind of harassment at workplace? Trust me, if you are asking this question right away in front of your survey in question number 1, I personally feel with this Indian, you can say with this not so Western mindset, people will right away ignore your survey. And as a person, your survey, the motive of sharing the survey will not, they are related to sentiments. Okay, then there was a survey on WhatsApp, with the religious activities going on, with temples being created, with cities being renamed. Are you in support of these things? So someone is specifically asking me this question at question number 1. I will give a lot of thoughts before answering this question. Okay, instead of slowly and steadily uncovering the fact. Okay, so this is where your shuffling of questions plays role. Do not shuffle questions when they are subjective. You can shuffle questions which are random questions which are general, related to general survey. Okay, survey like, do you prefer using Surf Excel or Procter and Gamble products, or you prefer using Patanjali products? Okay, so you can shuffle them. There is no need of maintaining an order related to it. Okay, and of course, if you want some kind of confirmation, so let's say I can provide something like thanks, which is a very good gesture. Thanks for your time. Okay, let me know if you have any concern. Okay, so on, let's say some kind of help@peta .in, or maybe .com. So what I'm trying to say, this is a confirmation message which you can display it whenever someone submits that particular survey. Okay, so in this way you can I'm just enabling progress bar also, and this is about it, and this will be a confirmation message in front of the user. I can provide any kind of it. I can provide a website link, an email address, and maybe a mobile number, or maybe some kind of link to a group. It can be a WhatsApp group or Google group or any G Suite group, anything kind of thing. Okay, and then the third part comes with the quizzes. Okay, now if I want survey to be created as a quiz, now why quiz? Because it's always beneficial when you reward a person. Okay, and if you're asking something which is universally true, the pointers, with every right answer you can provide them some marks. Okay, and in this way you can always identify. Example, I am conducting this session right now So I'm sure I'm audible to everyone. So I was discussing about, let's say, when we should go with a quiz, okay, and when we can go with a survey, general survey. So let's take an example. I want to give some kind of takeaway to my audience if they answer this question as per my expectation. Or after this session, if I want to know how many of you have understood working with Google Forms and things connected to Google Forms, let's say Google Survey, Google Sites, Google Sheets, all these things. So I want to surprise everyone with some 5 questions. And whosoever answers these 5 questions correctly, I'll give them something, let's say some recommendation on LinkedIn, or maybe some kind of goodies and takeaway. Okay. So in that way, in that sense, I can always mark it as quiz with some marks. Okay. So what I'm trying to say, I can always award them with marks with some right answers. Okay. So in this way, we can create a quiz. Okay. I can see how many questions, if I want to enable this option, that how many questions you have missed, how many of you have answered correctly, and what are the values, what are the points can be done to my survey in the form of quiz. So I personally feel if you really wish to complete, if you really wish to achieve more than 80% success ratio in your surveys, always go with some kind of quiz or maybe some kind of value system to your survey. So when you add a value to your survey, it indirectly pushes a person to complete that at any cost, Okay. Let's take an example. I was asking, I used to ask questions in my classroom, and some random questions, like say, how many of you are aware about the founder of Microsoft? How many of you are aware about this? How many of you are aware about that? Okay. So there were 20% people who were actually interested in answering it. But the moment I changed this thought process with, if a person answers this question right now, I'll give a recommendation to that person at the end of this training on LinkedIn. Trust me, there was 99% success ratio because there was a reward system. Whenever we are going with a survey, there should be a reward system, and it can be as simple as a personal thanks note. It can be an ebook. It can be something like, say, 5 tips to be more productive, any kind of thing. Or if you are providing some kind of goodies, recommendations, go with that. So quizzes are motivating in terms whenever there is something which provides a value system or some kind of marks. Okay. Like we all have been doing it with our training program. If you complete this training program, you'll get a certificate, or you can flaunt that certificate on your social media. So these are the things which can be done. Okay. So now, of course, we have discussed about these things. Okay. About the settings part, this is the most important part. And then we have this option, 3 dots. So if you remember, I was talking about whenever you see this dotted pattern, you will find out a lot of functionality hidden inside it. So we can make a copy of it. We can, of course, it's not required. We can delete it. We can have a pre-filled link also. Let's take an example. If I want to share this link, okay. Now, these links can be shared directly. And of course, I can have some kind of random values filled in there. Okay, let me share you this. We can print and we can add collaborators. So there are 4 or 5 people who are actually working on this form. So instead of me sharing the form to them and then they are editing or copying and pasting, I can add collaborators so that multiple people can collaborate this form at same time. Okay. So of course, at the time of collaboration, we need to identify whether a person would be from DME or a person can be an outsider. Okay. So right now there are restricted, only people added can have this link, but I can change this. Okay. I can change the restriction. I can go it to DME. Everyone in DME can be a collaborator, or outside DME can be a collaborator if they have access to link. So this is my link sharing option, which I can have it from here. Okay. So, and then we can have add-ons also. There are a lot of add-ons which can be added. So let's take an example. Now people are not sharing just forms. They are sharing a lot of things. They have, I'll just explain you how you can add these forms to Google Sites. A fully created landing page where you can add this site. So I want a notification add-on. Okay. So whenever someone fills that form, of course, we can have a notification on our Gmail ID, but we can have a notification. Okay. We can have email notification. We can also go with some kind of something related to add third-party functionalities. Okay. So these are some marketplace add-ons which can be added. Okay. I can add a QR code. I can add other values. I can directly have form to calendar. So there are a lot of functionalities. Okay. Now, again, then there are something which is known as preferences. Fine. Whether I want to collect email addresses, whether I want to make question as readed, default quiz point value. So let's say if I'm making it as 5. Okay. So these are some default settings of my form, and I'm saving it. Clear? So this is about the form part. Then the next important part, in fact, everything that revolves around in this form is this this small portion which includes a lot of functionalities. So let's say I'm creating a survey on stray dogs. Okay, so this survey, and I'm using something which is very general, something like it will take your 5 minutes to share how you feel about human closest friend. So I'm writing something which is very it can be an emotional thing for a person who owns a dog. Okay, so these are the two things that will decide whether a person will visit your form or not. Of course, when you are using this, you can have now, since I have already taken up an email ID. Okay, so there you can see there are some star which are mentioned here. Okay, let's take an example. If I select this, okay, the form is collecting email addressing. Now this is because I have selected this option, collect email address. So I don't need to add this form, this field, because it will definitely collect my email address. And then name. Okay, now there you can see whenever you want to collect any information. Okay, so these are the types of information which you can collect. Example, any question like, say, how you feel about the current government. Okay, and yeah, so there is a question. That question is information. Okay, yeah, so of course we can do that. We can automatically add name from the forms to that directly to the sheet, and through that we can have this on directly my certificate template. So from forms we can create hundreds of certificate within, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, that is not done only with the help of forms, which we need some kind of Google Sheet exposure also. We can do that. Okay, and I'll explain you how we generally do that. So I can select a short answers. I can select a paragraph if my question is a bit bigger, okay, in detail. And then I can have a multiple choice question. Let me give you an idea about it, when we should use a multiple choice questions. Yeah, so okay, so when the data visualization of drop down versus MCQ. Yeah, so whenever we talk about yes, so whenever we talk about, let's take an example, MCQ choice questions. Let's take an example. This is our name. So I'll just select a name as short answer, and this is mandatory. Of course, there is no point for providing a name, so there is 0 point here. Answer key, we won't provide any answer key to this. Okay, and of course, if I click on these 3 dots, I'll have something related to it: response validation and description. Now, if I go with this, now I seriously do not need this email ID. Okay, so what I want, if I want how much you care about animals. Okay, now let's take an example. If I talk about this question, now It purely depends on my question, what kind of answer should I take. Okay, let's take an example. If I want to select a multiple choice question, okay, so I need to frame my question to get a good answer out of my audience. Now it purely depends on the person who is framing the question. Let's take an example. If I frame this question as a short answer, okay, and if I show you the preview of it, this preview is survey on stray dogs, email, how much you care about animal. A person can write anything over there. It can write very much. It can write, I care about animals in the time I was kid. It can answer a question for 5 marks. You know, with every student has a skill of answering a question depending upon the marks. So if you answer a question for 2 marks, they will write 2 lines. If you answer a question for 10 marks, same question, they can answer 10 pages. Especially in IP University, we do that. And I'm telling it because I'm an alumni of IP University. So this is the moral responsibility of a person who is creating a form to select appropriate pattern. Let me tell you, let's take an example. We should never select short answer for these kinds of questions. We can have either drop down where we can fix it. Okay, where we can predefine, these are the options which you can try. So let's take an example, how much you care about animal. I can write regular feeding to stray dogs, okay, or sometimes, okay. So I'm just answering these questions so that I'm creating some bifurcated pattern of it, because it is very important to collect data in some definite shape also. This is from the data analysis point of view, I'm asking these questions, because if you ask something random, any person can write anything. Okay, so if I select this thing, let's say not at all. Now, if I want to answer this, I want to calculate empathy, okay, inside a user on the basis of this question and answers. So I have selected drop down, and if I click on review, I'll just refresh it. Okay, and there I can see how much you care about animals. Now there are these questions. I can't select any other thing apart from it. So this is where you fix your answers, you define the scope of your answers, which is very important when you are gathering responses for survey. Okay, this is a first and foremost rule of survey. You need to define the domain of your answers. It should not be like anyone comes with a whole thought process and answering whatever comes to their mind. If they are in good mind, they are writing good words. If they are in bad mind, they're scolding your survey. Okay, so this is something which a drop down comes. Okay, now if you select an MCQ, of course MCQ will have a different choices. And you know, let's take an example, post it an MCQ here. Yeah, so do you wish to adopt animal? Okay, do you wish to adopt animal? Or instead of an animal, I'll just, to be very specific, adopt dog. Okay, or stray dog. So I'm asking very specific, do you wish to adopt a stray dog? Now for this, I can simply provide this option which says that, okay, I want this answer to be, okay, this was a description. So I want this, yeah. So I can simply ask yes, or I can simply ask no, and I can simply answer it like, it depends on my family member or whatever, yes and no, simple. So I can remove it. And this is where you have MCQ in action. Okay, now if I want to see my MCQ, again, I'm going here, and this is my, okay, do you wish to adopt stray dog? Either yes or no. Okay, now in between this question, you might observe there is a demarcation with the help of this option. It is very important whenever you change the subject line of your survey. Yeah, let's take an example. You are from personal to subjective, from subjective to something related to country. something related to some eminent personality, something related to something social media, you can always create a demarcation, psychological demarcation with the help of this option. Okay, and this option is basically known as title, okay, which you can always insert okay from here. So I'll just option here where I can see something about so here I am pasting something about you care most. Okay, so this is in this way I can define my survey which is having further sections. Okay, and then you can see these 6 dots. These 6 dots can be used to take up your questions, okay, to reorder them. You don't need to do anything apart from it. And in third kind of questions we can have of course we can have linear scale also. Now from 1 to 5, how much you are satisfied with the current medical system in Delhi? Okay, okay, so how much you are satisfied. So I'm just taking satisfied with animal shelter, okay, or animal rescue in case of emergency. So let's take an example. You want to ask your audience from a scale of 1 to 5. It's a linear scale option. Okay, so you can ask them linear scale, like how much you're satisfied whenever you see an animal going through some kind of cruelty, whenever you see an animal suffering from some kind of accident. Have you ever seen any animal ambulance? Have you ever seen anyone who is coming to help them? If you're satisfied, you can answer it. So in this way you can always go with a linear scale option. Again, you can restrict your user for these things. Okay, now the most important thing which comes here is the section part. Now let's take an example. This is my section, and from here onwards I want to decide whether a user will go to this section or not, depending upon my previous question. Okay, now if this is a scenario, let's take an example. If I selected, I don't care about animal, I do not want this section to be open in front of that user, because these questions are related to, have you ever domesticated an animal? Have you ever taken care of that animal, taking care of his food, sleeping pattern, health, exercise, everything? If you don't care about animal, I don't want this section to be open for you. So what I can do, I can right away introduce a question, and this question will be the deciding factor for this section. Okay, so how to answer this thing? So let's say animal care survey. Okay, so this is animal care survey, and here if someone's answer this question, do you wish to be associated with us for learning animal something like care? Okay, so I'm asking a question, do you wish to be associated with us? If a person says yes, so I want this section to be visible. If a person says no, I don't want this section to be visible. So how can I link this section, animal care survey section, which is section 2 of 2? Okay, I can simply go to these 3 dots and there go to the section based on an answer. I want everyone to please focus here. So if I select this thing, go to the section based on an answer. So what will happen? Let me just take up this thing and let me just preview this part. Okay, so here if I select. Now here you can see a progress bar. There is an option of next also. Let me minimize my floating controls. Now if I am selecting anything, okay, they will ask me a G Suite ID. I don't have a G Suite ID. Okay, I'll just provide the same G Suite ID, social@dme.ac.in. Okay, how much you care about animal, and my email ID again, social@dme. Okay, and then do you wish to adopt it? So let's say yes. I'm a bit satisfied. And do you wish to associate? Now the moment I say yes, okay, and if I click on next, okay, now there will be this section survey, and there will be question like this, animal care survey. But if I go back and if I select no, and let me, these are some questions which are compulsory. Okay, so I'm just putting up this and regularly answering it as 3. Now if I want this survey, okay, now if I click on next, so you will see then this animal care survey, it will not be visible. Let me make it just like this. Okay, so what I'm doing, let me just show you. Okay, so there we have move section, delete section, and merge with above. Okay, and I want this question here is our helpline number for a number in case of emergency. Okay, so I want this thing, and this thing should be visible, of course, when someone is answering this question. Okay, so again, go to the section based on answer. Okay, then I can define this section, continue the next section, and then I can define it, which section I want to display. So let's say section number 2, animal care survey, and section number 1 is survey on animal raw. Now this will enable me, and what will happen, just let me show you. So now it was enabled here, but now it won't be enabled. So I'm just taking up these values, adopt, no or yes, and this. Now the moment I click on no, next, there is no question. Okay, and let me just take it this away, just save it. So in this way I can decide whether I want to open up a section or I don't want to open up a section here. Okay, so let me just take up, so where was our survey? Okay, now any question till now, anyone who wish to ask anything, feel free to ask anything related to it, or we can see the response part. Yes, so let me just hide this part. Now if I want to add videos to it, let's say initially I want to add a video or an image, so I can simply go to this option. I can have an image, photograph, or I can upload it right now. Let me just hide this part. Browsing, I'm uploading an image to it. So again, since I'm doing it on animal and stray dog, so I'm just uploading a kind of an image which makes sense to this thing. So this is my image and an image title. Okay, and if I wish to go center line, things related to it, so I can have an image related to it. If I wish to upload a video at the end thanking them, or some kind of survey related video you want to show, so you can have a video also. And survey stray dog care. Okay, so this is something which can be done. And taking a stray dog, I'm using a video over here and select. So this is how you can have a video, and you can have video for central line. So my survey is not only related to questions. We can have videos, we can import questions again. Suppose my questions are coming from some other survey, okay, some survey from assessment. So I can have a question from some other survey directly into my this survey or some previously selected survey. So I can import questions also, okay. So, and then of course there we have multiple sections, we can add it. Now the second part, which is there you can see the more I'm answering these questions, I am having points also. So if I wish to provide any points, I can directly go to answer key and I can select any points. So let's say I'm calculating how much emotional you are. On the basis of your answers, I'm giving you some kind of points. Okay, so I can select the points and then I can go to responses. Now, since there are no responses here, okay, let me share this with everyone so that we can have some kind of responses. Okay, and if I wish to share this thing, what I need to do is click on send. Now how I wish to send, on mail or something related to my messages, I want to share this thing. Okay, and let's take an example. If I want to share this, I'll shorten this URL so that if everyone is comfortable, and I want some responses so that I can show you the Google Sheets part. Okay, so let me just take it. Yeah, so I just want 4 students or 10 responses. Just click on it, provide a response, and if I wish to upload it on social media, I can upload it this directly if I wish to provide this. Now the moment everyone would be providing a response to this sheet, okay, we will have responses here coming. Okay, of course you have to provide responses from your DME accounts because we have restricted everyone with the Gmail ID. Now the moment you provide responses, and in this scenario we'll have responses. Okay, now suppose I don't wish to provide any response after 15 minutes. I want this to be time frame. Okay, so I can always disable this option, accepting responses, not accepting responses. Okay, so whenever I conduct a session, for after conducting for next 2 hours, I want responses, and after that I don't want to get any response. The response will be open next day after the session. So I can have these kinds of responses. Okay, now if I'm refreshing it, let me check if we have anyone who is providing response to this. Okay guys, anyone who is providing response, so that I can show you how you can see the response here, as well as you can download those sheets to your CSV. CSV, you might be knowing, is just a version, the kind of an Excel sheet, comma separated value sheet. Okay, it can be a notepad, can be a CSV if all the values are separated by a comma. Okay, and get an email notification for every new response. So if I want to see a response here with an email, so I can have this option enabled and select response destination where I want this response to be saved. So I want the response to be saved inside a spreadsheet. Name of the spreadsheet is DME SIP assessment, and create. So this will create a response sheet, and I can see 2 responses. Now if I wish to provide these responses, if I wish to share these responses, this is my insight section. Okay, how many people are providing, how much average, percentage, medium. Okay, and these are the informations related to it. Then how much you care about animals. There are people who say 50%. Sometimes I feed stray dogs, sometimes I don't. Okay, so this is a study you can see, and these are the email IDs which you can provide. And do you wish to adopt a stray dogs? Yes, no. Okay, so if I wish to see this part, I can do it inside my sheet, and there is an option of view response sheet. Now this is the most important part, because this is the area which will show you live and dynamic responses. Even if someone is providing a response right now, I'll see these responses being updated at the time when I'm explaining you all these things. Okay, can you see? These are the responses which are coming live on my sheet. And I can do a lot of operations. Whatever I can do it with my Excel. This is Google version of Excel. We call it Google Sheet. Okay. There are a lot of things which you can master over Google Sheet. Example, coming from the question which was asked to me, if I wish to create a certificate directly coming from Google Form. So what we do, we collect the responses here in the name section, and then we take out names to create their template, to provide these names directly into the template of my certificates. So I can create certificates, I can create ID cards, I can create badges for events. It does not require one-to-one copy pasting of usernames. Okay. Now, apart from it, there are a lot of other advantages when you're working with Google Sheets. Let's say if you go to file, you will find out, of course, you can save it directly to your sheet. Okay. So this is directly saved inside response sheet along with your form. And you can save it there. You can go to all these options. You can summarize it like, I want to view any particular things, I want to insert, or if I really wish to create a chart here. Okay. Now, this is something which you can do. Let's take an example. This is my sheet and I want to create chart of this data for first 25 students. Okay. So I can directly go to my insert. I can select the chart option. So I can select a chart into my sheet. So whatever we have been doing it. So this is my chart, okay, which was visible on the form. So now I have created this in the form of from my Google Sheet. Okay. So these are the areas where we can explore a lot of things, not only the charts part. There are things related to things like, okay, so you can have Excel formulas, functions. Let's say I want to arrange them in increasing order. Okay, I want to sort this value. So I can always sort them so that the value is always sorted from A to Z. Let's take an example of email IDs, A to Z. So these values will be always sorted. Okay, so the moment you have your email IDs coming here, you will have them in sorted order. Okay, or if I want to sort them with the help of something related to marks, something related to how much you are satisfied, anything. Okay, so all those functionalities which are available on my Google Excel sheet, it is there available here also. Okay, then we can have a lot of add-ons. Then we have option of unlinking form, embedding into web page, going live with a form. All these options are there. Okay, there are options which are related to accessibility settings. Okay, if I wish to provide some kind of accessibility, let me give you an idea of it. Let's take an example. I want to see some kind of trend. Okay, now since I'm only viewing this part, but I can have a comment trend also. Okay, in fact, if I wish to share this sheet with everyone, so I can share this sheet. Okay, and I can directly provide the name. So whatever is the name, I can provide that here. Okay, so these are the things which are there with the sheets. And of course, you have similar kind of sharing options which was there with the form, with the sheet itself. Okay, so this is related to the sheet part, and this was related to the form part. Okay, yeah, any question till now, any doubt that you want to ask, or any scenario which you want to share with us so that we can have some kind of Q&A one-to-one. Of course, there are a lot of things to cover, but I'll just take a break of 2 minutes to know more about how and everyone is understanding. Are we going good, or you want to ask anything in between? Yes, okay. So, yeah. So do we first need to create a Google Suite account for creating Google Form? Absolutely not. Google Suite accounts are not created by individual users. They are given to you by administrators. So let's take an example. If I'm a student of DME, I will not be creating a G Suite account. It will be given to me by college, or if I'm using my personal Gmail ID, I can use that also. Let's take an example. I do have my personal Gmail ID, so I can use that also. Okay, so I can use this Gmail ID, or I can use any Gmail ID. and I can go to its form section and survey section. So G Suite is not something that you have to do. It is provided to you by administrator of the organization. So even if you join an organization, they might be using something might be related to G Suite or Office 365, or it can be any other internal email application. Okay. So yeah. So, okay. Yes. That's a very big question. I'll take 30 seconds to read it. Okay. Must not non-biased data collecting from GForm and actually be biased because data that's being collected is reaching. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say here is Google Form right mode of data collection in conducting research? Okay. Now that is a subjective question. If you are asking me as a question part of a research, I will answer it in two different ways. First, as a student, this is the most effective way of gathering data as a student. But if you are doing some kind of research that includes your PhD, that includes your thesis, I don't consider Google Form as the only way of collecting research. Okay, because your data, your research should be reliable enough, should be something which should have data and scenarios from different modes of gathering research. So being a student, Google Form is one of the most flexible way of gathering research. You can share it to thousands of people on social media. You can share it on Twitter. You can do that. Okay. You can politely ask a person, I'm doing a research. Can you help me? Would you be like to be part of that? Okay. Now, if you are doing a PhD or a thesis, this is only a 5% data can be gathered through Google Forms. Okay. But Google Forms can facilitate your data gathering process. Let's take an example. You can thank a person over Google Form, how he or she felt providing you the questionnaires. Okay. Providing you the scenarios. So I personally feel it's purely depends on subjective. It's a subjective thing, but to start, it's a good process. Because yes, only privileged people who are good with Google Form can answer your question. Uneducated people cannot answer it. But again, this is the least you can start. Later on, you can try and go for any other kind of medium. It's a good question. Tanisha Sharma, I really appreciate that you are asking this. I'm not sure whether you are a student or faculty, but definitely these kinds of questions are required when you are initiating some survey. Any other question? Any other doubt or any other thing that you want to ask?
Hello, Parth sir.
Yes.
Sir, first of all, I would like to thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Secondly, sir, I have a question. So yesterday I was making a Google form, and somehow when I shared it with my students, the form was not editable. So I tried to make the changes, but somehow, I mean, I could not figure out. So if possible, yeah, can I share that form with you, and
sure.
probably you can tell me what went wrong there.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll just share the link over that.
Yeah, you need to make me a collaborator so that I can view that form from admin point of view.
Okay, so
or just share me the form. I'll explain you what can be the thing.
Yeah, what went wrong, because the students also, I'm sure they are aware. I shared the form with them yesterday, but they could not edit them. So I was getting messages on personal chat. So I tried to make the changes, but I don't know yesterday what happened. Somehow I could not do that. Yeah, so this one.
This is a form. Okay. So let me just yeah.
So I think the students have edited the questions. I mean, in the spaces which were given, they could not enter. So where I had written name, so they just changed it. They could change that somehow.
Okay. These are the things that you're saying. These are the things.
Yeah. These are the questions. Yeah.
Let's take an example. I am creating some kind of survey, and what I want multiple students to enter question, to be part of this form creation activity. I guess this was a motive of sharing this form. Or you wanted only to collect responses? What was the motive of this form?
Simply, I wanted the responses actually, but I don't know, some wrong setting I did.
Yes. So what can be done? Say here, restrict to user only in DME and its trusted organization. Can you see this option, ma'am?
Yes.
So this means that only people with DME accounts can answer it. If they don't log in from DME account, they cannot answer it. So we need to disable this part, because I'm not sure how many students are having their G Suite DME accounts, but this is a very common mistake. What happened whenever you restrict a user for DME account? Let's take an example. Whenever I click on a form, there can be possibility I might open up a form into my personal email ID. Okay, so this is the first thing, okay, which we need to ask from students. Are they logged in from their DME account? If we want them to answer this form with the help of a DME account. If not, we can remove this from the settings part. So this is a common thing which is there. Else there is no other thing which can limit a user to provide a response. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if you want to collaborate, if you want question should be added by the student, or maybe some 2-3 students should add a question depending upon the their subsections or some kind of year. So we can add them. We should add them as collaborator. So this is that option. We should add them as collaborator. So let's take an example. If I want you to add them as collaborator, so I will add your DME account. So now you are a collaborator. So now you are free to add your MCQ. And to my DME SIP assessment, SIP assessment, and now you can change the questions also, and you can take my form, and you can see responses also. If you go to the response sheet, you can see whatever I can do it here. So this is second way where we can have collaborators for forms.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So one more thing I wanted to ask, on the phone, is there any app in which these Google Forms can be made, or it's only possible through a laptop or desktop?
No, we do have for every G Suite, you can say for every G Suite application, there are compatible Google application which are in the form of mobile apps, tabs. So you can have Google Form apps also, but it is always advisable to go with desktop, because you have this kind of form apps. But again, it is advisable because there are a lot of things which are only possible when you are doing it things from laptop. So one thing can be done. You can edit a form with the help of you can say mobile app, but here you will see that there is an app by the name of G Suite. Let me just give you an idea of it.
Okay, so, actually yesterday I was trying to find an app for this, but I could not find.
Yeah, so
from Google,
official app of Google. These are the apps which are there. You can find out apps from different vendors, third-party vendors. Okay, these are similar to Google Form, but again, I prefer, there is an app for Google Classroom. Inside Google Classroom, you can have multiple apps or for forms. These are the things which can be done. These are third parties. You can have an app for Google Sheets to know the response that I personally use. For everyday daily working report, I do have a Google Sheet kind of an app. So I need not to check my mail for the response. I can do it from my mobile app. Any question? I guess someone was asking a question. Hitansh want to ask a question. Hitansh is raising his hand. Yeah.
Sorry, sir. It was by mistake.
So I have a question. Ayush is asking. I checked that we can get the correct answer for the question. Yeah. So we can have, if we are creating a quiz, so how to get a correct answer for a question? Okay. I guess this is your question. Let me give you an idea of it. Let's take an example. Animal care survey, and here I want to change my question to some kind of question for which there should be an answer. Okay, so let's take an example. If my question is something like, do we have vet hospital according to Delhi government. I'm just phrasing a question that might not be a something that makes lot of sense. So my question is to know if you really care about animal care survey. So if you know the answer. So the answer here is something like, I'm taking multiple choice question for ease of answering. Of course, for subjective questions, you can't answer, you can't provide a marks to such things. So I'm making it yes and I'm making it no. Okay, now answers key. Now here, this is a 0.5 answers key feedback I can provide. Correct answer I can provide. So let's say yes is the correct answer, incorrect answer is no. And if I
Okay.
wish to provide some kind of video, we can do that also.
Assignment.
And after this, done. And then we can have uh, answering for this. We can go to multiple choice. Let me just give you an idea of it. Response validation. Now, in this response validation, I can restrict a user also. Okay, so let's take an example. If here I want to response validate, or if in this question I want to validate a user for how many number of characters they can wish on the basis of it. So there is an option of response validation. These are the types of response validation option. Length, regular expression. Now regular expression is something like it contains a particular pattern or a word. Okay, so these are some parameters on which I can provide a marks, or I can verify whether the answer is correct or not in terms of response validation, in terms of right answers. Okay, I'm sure that answers your question, Ayush, what you wanted to ask to
Hello,
get
sir.
correct answers.
Am I audible?
You are.
Sir, this I got that, sir. But there was one thing where I checked it on the internet also, that when there is a form, and if we check the form, there is an open source link for that form. Right.
Yes.
So in this question, in particular question, you asked that do we have to be the vet hospital according to Delhi government, and the correct answer is yes, and then correct is no. But if we go on the source link, we can actually find the correct answer from that particular area without even like looking, going through the questions. I can get the answers from there. So is there any way to get debug that?
See, even if I want to, we can always restrict that. You know, if you want your user, this purely depends on the survey. I want my user to be informed about the right answer, so I can show the right answer. But again, the point which you are, the scenario which you are sharing is without answering a question. I'm understanding. I'm getting a right answer. This is what you are saying. Okay.
Yes,
So
from
let me
the
show you.
open
Let
source
me
link.
show you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I go to this option and okay, I have to again provide this. Okay. So if I go to this link here and AC dot. Now here, if I am selecting these options, okay, and values, yes, next. Now, if I select this yes, now it purely depends. After submitting it, do I want to show the answer or not? If I don't want to, if I don't want to share the right answer, it will not be visible. No one can see the right answer. You will only get total number of marks. It purely depends on the setting part. Okay. So if you are a form creator, you can always control that setting. You want right answer to be displayed or not, because a person might select something, they will see the right answer, they will again answer the form, and they will, this time they will select the right answer. So you can always restrict it in the form whenever you are going for a quiz. If you select no, you will not get points. So this is what I personally feel. ABC. Okay, so this is how a form works here. Okay, any other question, anyone who wishes to ask anything? I'm
Yes,
sure a lot of work can be done, and G Suite is a very big suite of application. Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I was preparing a form right now on the
saying
backdrop.
something.
So, like if I have to add a photo to it, so I have to add this photo to my
Yeah.
Google Drive and then I can add it in the header of the form. Or is it, it can be accessible from
No,
anywhere from my computer?
you can upload anywhere from you want to upload a photograph. Okay, so here you can go and select this photograph option. Maybe you can, if you wish to select this from Drive, you can have it from directly go and select. You can take it a camera also. So if I want to take a camera of real my photograph or by URL from your photos accounts, from your Google Drive, or maybe directly from Google Images, anywhere you can take it.
Okay, somehow I could see only the options as
This is the benefit of having a. Which email ID you are using? Are you using a DME email ID or you are using a personal email ID?
I'm using the DME email ID only, sir. Probably when I am inserting this, I could only see the options as the image upload, themes, upload, and photos.
Okay, this option is there. Add image here.
Sir, the one which was
On the right hand side, image, videos.
Yes. It is very much there. Add image. Or
Just click on it. There you will find out these options.
Okay. No, I was just asking about this header thing. This one I could search for the header thing. The custom.
For header, of course,
Yes.
for header also, if you wish to change your header image, there also you can. Like I uploaded this image from my desktop.
Yes,
so
the same thing I was trying to do, but somehow I was not able to do that.
So from here you can see, go to theme option, this color palette.
Yes, I very much.
And out of that theme option, there you can see image upload.
Yes,
and then you will find out upload photos. Okay.
Yes. This also I have to download from my download file. I have to browse and add this to here.
So this is from your machine, browse, upload, and this is from my photos album.
From my photos album.
Yeah. So I'm using currently social media account. So all the photos, this photos is a photos album of your Google application.
Yeah,
that's using an app. Yeah. So everyone using an Android has a photos app in their mobile. So if I wish to upload a photos application from there or photos from there, I can do that.
Perfectly fine, sir.
Yeah. So this is something which I personally feel it's a matter of time and practice. The more we use, the more we get into the detail of each and everything. And for especially for research pursuing students and faculties, it should be a monthly exercise to review such kind of functionalities, because these things are the new normal with everyone. 10 years back, only people with survey background, people with data analysis background were frequent in using it. Now is the time when everyone is using it. So with this current situation, things are changing. New normal is changing, and Google Suite is something which is need of every student and every faculty. And sooner or later, we will realize with the help of with more online education and more online things coming on. So with this side, I'm sure I have covered most all of the topics. I'm sure you might feel more comfortable after this 1.5 hour of session attending it. And in case still you have any query, you are most welcome. You can approach me on LinkedIn. You can search it by my name, Parth Shukla, and my details are there with almost every faculty. So that's it from my side. If anything else you want me to cover, let me know, ma'am, about it.
Okay, so participants, if you have any questions, you would can put it on the chat, and can, as sir has asked, that you can obviously mail him or post your queries. So that would be all from us, our side, sir. So I would request participants to, before exiting, kindly fill in the attendance form and the form which will be used for issuance of the e-certificate. So this, I am putting it in the chat box, please, everyone. kindly fill this form. So this form was prepared at the backdrop only, sir, when the session was running. So this was the one I was experimenting with. So thank you so much, sir, with this for your valuable time. And definitely, I'm pretty sure the students will be using it, and we too as the faculty members. We've been often using it, but some more things we got to know after this session. So we thank you so much from the entire, on the behalf of entire DME fraternity. So a special convey and a vote of thanks from Dr. Disha ma'am. And Purva ma'am also had got some engagement, so she had to exit somehow. And over to you, Roli ma'am, if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Parth sir, for such a knowledgeable session. We also need, regular refresher courses for this. Sometimes we also get stuck. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always nice to share my knowledge. And of course, I'll try my best to come up with something new so that I can share my knowledge and skills to everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to such sessions. Students, I request all of you to please fill in the attendance sheet. It has been shared in the chat window.
All the participants who are there, please fill the attendance sheet. On the basis of your response to the attendance sheet, your e-certificates and the attendance will be mailed. Okay, those who have filled in the form, thank you for your time and patience, students. Hope it was a useful session for all of you, and then you can exit one by one. Rohit, you're not able to fill it. Why so, dear? It should be able to fill in.
Ma'am, could you please resend it?
Okay, I'll resend it again, Rohit. I'll surely do so, but I don't think so. There should be a problem. Still, anyway, I'll put it again. I sent you the reply, Rohit. Try it if you can fill it. Is Dhaval here still in the meeting? Dhaval? I got a message from Dhaval. Okay, no, he has left it. So, Rohit, are you able to do it right now, bache?
No, ma'am.
Why so? Because the form is the same for everyone. What error is it showing, Rohit?
Ma'am, it is not getting open.
It's not getting opened. Is there some problem with it, Rohit? I don't think so. But try. You logged in from your system or from the?
Shanu ma'am, can you send the link again, probably?
Okay, okay. I'll just post it.
That
Again.
might help.
Okay, ma'am. I'll just post it again. I've put it in again. Rohit, try this now.
Ma'am, yes, it is got open.
Okay. Okay, so some known people we have Dipakshi, Shreyans, Kansha. Please fill in the attendance form, kids.
Please, all of you can copy the form. We are about to end the meeting. Please copy the link which has been provided in the chat box.
Yes, we'll be closing this meeting in another couple of minutes. So please either fill the form or you can copy this link with yourself. So Roli ma'am, I believe in the next two, it's 4:24, 4:25, I'll close the meeting. That would be
Yes.
okay. No?
Yeah, that would be fine. Sure.
Okay, okay. I believe all the faculty
One
members.
last, yeah. One last minute, students, please copy the link before the meeting ends.
Karan, Dipakshi, Aman, who all are there in the meeting, please fill in this form and then you can exit. We're about to close this meeting. Jessica, Bhavna, Shreyans, Akansha. Jessica, just asking you to just fill the form and then you can exit, bache. Okay, Roli ma'am, I believe
Yeah,
almost everyone has exited, so I'll stop recording and I'll just close the meeting.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Sure,
you so
sure.
much, ma'am. Thank you for all the
Okay,
cooperation.
thank you, Shanu
Okay,
ma'am.
okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.